actually, for the first time, happened
at the same time.
At the same time.
Look at that.
Instagram and Facebook live at the same time. TGIF. It is Friday night in quarantine. This
Which
is
means
my
nothing.
best Friday night look for you people.
Means
I even
nothing
put
at all.
a headband on to cover all the grease in my hair because it's been... Chase, turn that down over there. Turn that phone down over there. It's been way too long since I've washed my hair. So how about you guys? Been way too long since you washed your hair too, Wade?
Yeah, I took a shower today. I didn't take a shower for like 2 days.
Don't tell the people that.
Great.
He's generally a very clean human. I don't know what happened to the no shower deal for 2 days.
Because you and Chris fussed at me for taking a shower today.
We had work to do. So hopefully you guys have had a great week. We've had a lot of fun. Well, I don't know if it's really fun is the word, though. Fun is not the word. This week on Better Together has been all real talk for you. So if you've joined in, Monday we talked about postpartum journey and postpartum depression. Wednesday we talked all about mental health. And then tonight we are talking about failure. And is it really failure, or is it really something that's preparing you for the future? So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight because that's kind of hard to talk about too. Nobody wants to admit they're a failure at anything, or that's really, really difficult.
Yeah, or weaknesses. I mean, it's kind of one and the same sometimes.
So we are really excited. And we also have one of our really good friends, Brandon. He's going to be joining us in a little while. Brandon's like my little brother. I literally just text him sometimes to make fun of him and cut jokes with him. So this could be a really interesting episode tonight.
Yeah,
whether he and I
felt
are just going
honored
back
when
and
they would
forth.
just include me on things because they're like BFFs.
Well, the thing about Brandon is I don't even have to I might not have talked to him for several weeks or even a month, and I'll just text him something random. Like it's like we never. It's like we talk every second of every day how we text one another.
It's an awesome relationship.
It really is. So I'm excited to talk to him. He is amazing.
But y'all are two totally different people, though.
Yeah, we are. He was on Forbes 50 under 50. Just kidding. He was not.
I was about to say,
he was
what?
30 under 30. And so he
acts 50.
He's a real big
he's
deal.
Smart like
he's really smart. And he also he is the founder.
Yeah.
I think is his title. If I mess it up, he'll yell at me. But I know that he was definitely the founder of the brains behind the Harvard Diversity Project, which is really cool.
We'll let him talk about that too.
But before we actually get into tonight and what we're going to chat about, we're going to bring Brandon in just a second. Tomorrow, if you don't follow Get Your Teach On, you know that our big national conference is coming up. And so we have a huge update. Everybody has been wanting updates on the national conference.
Tomorrow.
What's happening, what's going on. We know with COVID, obviously, things, are up in the air with everything. And so we have a big announcement. Our team has been working incredibly hard for a very long time. I'm sure you already know, but obviously, it is a lot of work when things are all up in the air and you don't even know what's happening in the world, in your country.
I mean, if you can imagine, just
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's literally we've all lost a lot of hours of sleep.
A lot of hours, a lot of weight, a lot of hair, a lot of things.
I said I'm probably going to look 75 when I come out of this quarantine. But we do have an update for you guys tomorrow, and there's a lot of really, really, really exciting things on the Get Your Teach On horizon. So you want to make sure you're following Get Your Teach On. Make sure you check out the announcement tomorrow for the update on the national conference and all the things that are to come. That is all going to be announced tomorrow. Thank you for whoever said you love my headband. This is just a cover-up. A disguise, if you will.
Maverick put it on a little while ago.
He did. We were downstairs.
And we were like, this is what a little girl king would look like.
He put my headband on,
so
and it was
unique.
the cutest. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, don't we need a girl king? I think that we need a girl king. Remember Wade, 2 years ago at the national conference, stood on the stage and said he wanted a baby, and now here we are.
I mean, our baby's still, y'all, we barely, literally, we got down here 1 minute before this started because Maverick was just roaring to go tonight.
He's a wild man.
And he's rolling and playing in his bed.
So those are all the updates. Oh, before we bring Brandon in, next week on Better Together, we actually have things scheduled out. Sometimes with this whole new thing that we're doing, it's just like we're trying to figure out what we're going to talk about with you guys and plan things out kind of on a whim sometimes. But next week on Monday night is a Get Your Teach On special. And so our very own Chris Pombano will be back hosting that. And we are going to hear from some of the Get Your Teach On presenters. This is news to Chase. Chase, you want to give him a little Chase cam on the Facebook? There it is.
They don't tell me anything until it happens.
Exactly. That's exactly. He's like, what? What's happening?
Or after it happens.
But that's what's happening.
Or after it happens.
Or after. So that's what's happening on Monday. We're going to check in with some Get Your Teach On presenters, and we're going to tell you all of the updates, all of the exciting things happening in the world of Get Your Teach On. So that is coming. Then, I don't know if y'all are ready for this one. On Wednesday, on Wednesday, you guys. This is going to be, I'm so excited for this episode.
Yes, okay, yeah.
We are going to revisit, we've kind of briefly talked about this on Better Together, but we are going to revisit a very important concept, which is what's your why. So redefining your why during this pandemic, and we've kind of hit on it, but that's not the exciting thing. Like, I mean, that's exciting.
What's your why is so cliche these days, but this is going to just bring
exciting.
It home.
But you guys, Cassie Stevens is going to join us on Wednesday, and she is going to help us. You might have seen how she had her whole faculty at her school illustrate their why as a visual. Yeah. And so we are going to have an art night with Cassie, where we are all going to illustrate our why.
She's got a whole formula for it.
Yes.
She's going to dissect it. She's going to teach
in art terms.
And it's just going to be something really cool, intentional, and creative. So
and it's not that you have to be a good artist. That is not what that's about at all.
It's going to be so much fun.
And she will tell you that.
Brilliant.
But she is hilarious. Oh, she's one of my favorite people. I don't even know anything about TikTok, but I'm telling you right now, I got on TikTok just because of Cassie. Her TikToks will leave me in tears, like crying. She is insanely talented.
How many people watch her now? How many people watch?
Millions.
Millions.
I think she has millions of followers on TikTok and millions of views, and she is
not cool enough to do that.
Hilarious. I mean, literally, I'm like, girl, she was made to do TikTok. TikTok was for Cassie Stevens. She is hilarious. But she's also an incredible teacher. I could sit in her class every day. If you haven't caught her lives on Facebook that she's doing art classes for kids, it is like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, she's really going to break this down into terms, into ways that you can just see it and take away and apply it to your life and really, really understand what it is that makes you, you, and what your purpose is. So
see, Chris says Cassie wins Miss TikTok 2020. The girl, she should have a crown. Somebody needs to make Cassie a TikTok.
She needs a crown box.
Tiara.
She can make her own crown box.
A TikTok tiara. That's a new thing. A TikTok tiara. But anyway, so she'll be with us on Wednesday night. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in, but we don't want to share our failures without our good friend Brandon. So we are going to go ahead
link Brandon in real quick.
We'll see if he followed directions first and foremost. That's the part that I'm most concerned about here.
He did. He's a
look
follower.
At him following directions.
Oh,
all right, we're going to bring Brandon in, see if we can get him connected.
There he is.
I'm telling you, this is probably what most of the episode's actually going to be tonight. It's just the two of us laughing because this is so our relationship.
And I will just
What's up? Wade King.
That's what's going on, brother? There.
What are you doing?
Yo, this is my first time doing this. Like ever. I've never done a live.
A little bit. Chase, can you turn him up a little bit? All right, try again, Brandon.
I've never done a live before. This is my first time doing this.
You've never what?
Yeah, this is my first time.
Are you kidding?
And it's crazy. I'm doing it with you. You know, I'm not going to be able to take you seriously all night, right?
Well, okay, you maybe haven't done a live, but you've been on like all these news stations, all these like.
And your students have been all over the place.
All these famous people. Like, who are we to you even? I'm surprised we could even book you to get you on this show.
Whatever. I would never be able to compare to you, Hope King. You're a celebrity.
You, Brandon. He's kind of like Wade. I trained him since he was a very young boy to understand and know his role in my life.
That's exactly.
That is very true. That's very, and we've created a friendship of her laughing at my pain.
That's true.
Which is, oh my gosh, y'all. So we're talking about failures tonight, right? And so I text Brandon.
I don't even know what you're going to say next.
This is literally what I text Brandon today. Today I text him. I said, hey, Brandon, tonight on Better Together, we're talking about our failures. You got a lot of them. You want to come chat with us?
Right. Yeah, I got plenty to share.
I was kind. I asked him if he had a date because I had to make sure, because with him you never know. So I just wanted to check and make sure he didn't have a date tonight. But I figured with quarantine we might be okay. So
yeah, I'm social distancing.
So Brandon, before we get started and talk about failures real quick, do you mind sharing a little bit about the Harvard Diversity Project and if people want to support that, and just a little bit about who you are and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, everybody? It is such an honor to be on Hope King's Instagram. I've waited my entire life for this moment right here. You know, so if I die tomorrow, I will die feeling fulfilled and accomplished because I have officially made it. Forget Forbes. I'm on Hope King's Instagram. What's going on, everyone? My name is Brandon Fleming. I had the privilege Sometimes it was a privilege to teach alongside Hope and Wade. I mean, we just had such an incredible time. We built an impervious bond, and that's carried us to this day, and it will carry us forever as long as they will allow me to remain in their lives.
What does impervious mean, Brandon?
Impenetrable.
He's real smart, guys.
He's real smart, y'all. He's got to bring it down to my level sometimes. I have to make sure that he does.
So yeah, shout out to my fellow Gryffindors out there. I even brought I have a Harry Potter wand. So I brought it.
I didn't realize that you were into props, Brandon.
And so, but anyways, y'all. So I'm actually I'm on the faculty at Harvard University. I was recruited by Harvard a couple of years ago to join the debate faculty. So now I serve as the assistant debate coach for the Harvard University debate team. And while being there, I noticed that there was a significant lack of African-American presence. And so whenever you see a problem, you have two options. You can either complain about it or you can do something about it. And so I decided the latter, and I decided to build a bridge that would actually feed students of color into the university. And so I started what's called the Harvard Diversity Project. It is a pipeline program where now we have over 10 students who have matriculated to Ivy League colleges on full scholarship.
That's amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's just a brief synopsis.
And it's only been around for, what, 2 years?
Yeah, we're in our third year now.
Right?
Yeah. Getting ready to intake our fourth cohort.
That is amazing. And also, he, like I said, was Forbes 30 under 30. You're writing a book.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
How's that going?
I can't wait for it to be over.
When? Trust me,
writing a book is a
we
long
know.
process.
And then you'll say you'll never write another one, and then never say
that's
never.
what I've been telling people. Hope my agent has been like already talking about the next one. And I'm like, no, this is it. I don't want to do another one.
Don't you say that. The minute you say that, it instantly ropes you into your second contract. Like, that's what I've learned. Don't say that you're not writing another one.
Yeah, well, when's y'all's next one on the way?
No.
No. So what had happened was, one day, about a month ago, I was in a coffee shop. Don't ever go to a coffee shop, by the way, unless you want to come out with like 15 ideas of things that you should do. And so, literally, when I was in that coffee shop, I was texting. I have no desire, and I mean this from like the depths of my soul. I have no desire to ever write another book.
We've got it mapped out.
But I walked out of the coffee shop that day with 3 book ideas.
And they're doable.
Hey, there we go.
And they're doable.
So that's why I said never say never, and then never go to a coffee shop. That's the best advice I can ever give you. Because
another thing before we get going, just something that's just kind of ironic is that we didn't know Brandon, and when we started working with Brandon, we found out that he literally went to high school like right down the road in South Carolina. So we're South Carolinians as well.
Maybe that's how we get along so well.
We get it.
Yeah, maybe so. There's something in the air over there in upstate South Carolina.
There you go.
Maybe that's how we get along so well. No, but seriously, we're so proud of you, Brandon, and you're doing amazing things. And I do joke with him a lot. You're gonna see it the whole episode.
You have to rein them back in.
It is literally just our relationship. We have. If you saw the picture that I posted for this episode tonight, like that is our relationship to a T.
Basically.
Brandon,
yeah.
I told him, I said, Brandon, I can't find any pictures of us on my phone. He had that picture to me in like 2 seconds. I think it was his screensaver.
And you got me. It was. And I told Hope. I said, Hope, here's the thing. I don't know what we're going to talk about because half of what we could talk about, we can't share publicly.
Nope.
It's so true.
And they literally communicate just in their brains.
Yes.
Like, they will look at each other, and we're out somewhere or having a meet, and they just start cracking. I'm like, what is going on? Y'all are going to get me in trouble because of y'all two. What y'all doing?
Yeah, I'm talking about faculty meetings. Any time when we're supposed to be serious, we couldn't.
We can't. It's just impossible.
Maybe that's why we got in so much trouble.
Wait, we even have for the Facebook people, Instagram, you're missing out. We have a quick video that shows my relationship with mine and Brandon and Wade's relationship. This is the dance video, Brandon.
Hey.
Hey, look at my face.
Okay. Everybody focus on Wade in the back.
That's a new version of hit them folks.
Yeah, that was it. You was doing it before it got popular, Wade.
That's right. Ain't no one know about
I'm
it.
telling y'all, I don't dance. Like I don't dance. It is not my thing. I mean, I don't sing either, and I do that too.
Wow.
But for Brandon and Brandon's room, it's just like the spirit. I don't know. The spirit just overwhelmed me, and I just busted out a dance move. I don't know.
Yeah, you did it well.
So anyways, all right, so we're going to dive in and talk about, tonight we're talking about the F word of failure. This week has been, Brandon, I know you haven't tuned in because, that's kind of friend you are. But anyways, this week we've been real talking all week long. Monday I shared about my postpartum journey, which you did come and visit Maverick. So you kind of saw the beginning stages. And Brandon said, does he just, this is what you do all the time? I think that Brandon was even shocked, like, oh my word, like literally, you just have to care for a human like 24/7.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and then Wednesday night we talked about mental health with some of our friends and just the struggle amongst so many people with anxiety, depression, all of the different things that people are struggling with, internally and along with their emotions and mental health. But tonight we're going to talk about one more really raw, real area that nobody wants to talk about, and that's failure, because obviously nobody wants to ever admit that they fail at things. I think that when you start admitting it, just like with anything, it does get easier. And I think for a lot of us who have failed a whole lot, we recognize that failure actually tends to lead us to a journey of growth and strength, and that's where we really find that that failure became one of our greatest victories. So we're going to start with you, Brandon, because I want to hear maybe perhaps one of your biggest failures, your greatest failures, but kind of you're such a great storyteller, so I'm just really intrigued. But how that maybe led you down a road to greatness in some way, shape, or form, because I think that's the thing, is that people fear failure. But if they're not okay with failing, then they're never going to get to where they ultimately want to be. And I think that's why failure should be celebrated, talked about, shared, not something that's hidden, something that's very visible for people to see. So I would love to hear about a story maybe of your failure leading to victory.
Yeah, what's interesting is that every failure that I've experienced has been so catalytic. And in this meandering journey that we all have toward whatever it is that we're supposed to do in life, failure is inevitable. And the thing is, all of us want to circumvent that part of the journey, but we can't. It's something that you really have to walk through and embrace, because at every stage in life, you get something so valuable that's going to carry you at the next phase. And that's what failure does. So for me, honestly, it's very ironic the way that I landed in education, because I was literally the worst student you could ever imagine. I mean, in the classroom, I couldn't pay attention. I struggled to read. I couldn't write. I was barely in school because I was always getting kicked out. And honestly, what saved my life was basketball. That was the only shot I had to do something promising with my life. And my coaches saw that I had a promising athletic future. And so I was playing basketball, and finally I earned an opportunity to play at a Division I college. And I get there, and it's training camp right before the semester starts. And during that week in training camp, I went up for a dunk, and I tore my patellar tendon in my knee. And just like that, my entire career was over. And honestly, I struggled with that for many reasons. One, I had nothing else. Like, I wasn't academically inclined. So here I am now in college. I hate school. I hate teachers. I don't want to do any of this. And so I subsequently became a dropout. Dropped out of college and spent the next 2 years of my life working in a vitamin plant on an assembly line for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I was depressed. I was so depressed and so beset by the idea of failure and the thought that I would never be able to do anything promising with my life that I attempted suicide. I know that sounds kind of, gloomy, but it's the truth. And a lot of times there's a lot of people who wrestle with failure, and it drives them to that point, and I was one of them.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that in itself, is just, number one, I relate with that a ton. And I think a lot of college athletes who get that opportunity, I mean, it is kind of stereotypical or cliche that sports saved your life or put you on a trajectory. I mean, it pretty much did the same thing for me too. And I think that's what kind of drives the competitive nature in both of us, and hope she was an athlete as well. But to hear that all your eggs were in that basket, and literally and figuratively, right?
Literally.
I mean,
yeah.
And I know more of your story than that. I mean, I know the struggles that you've gone through with that knee. Hope and I both do since that point. But what was going through your mind when you tried to commit suicide and it wasn't successful? What kind of, did anything flip, or where'd you go from there?
Well, what drove me to that moment, one of the things that I always tell people, what was so powerful about that moment for me is that my passion was literally birthed in a moment of pain. Because I was sitting there on that hospital bed with tears streaming down my face, looking up at the ceiling, wondering, why me, which is something that I've asked myself throughout all the struggles that I endured in my childhood. And I was wrestling with what everybody said I would never be, what teachers said I would never be, what my stepfather said that I would never be, what circumstances said that I would never be. And so at that moment, I thought I proved everybody right about me. And I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe they were right. And so for me, there was no point of me even existing if I was only there to affirm what everybody said that I wasn't. And so for me at that moment, I really came to understand education as the only key and the only way out for me. And so honestly, I saw education as a way of escape. And I knew that I was given a second chance for a reason. And so I made my way back to college. I literally prayed on that bed of suicide. I prayed, said, God, please, if you give me another chance to go back to college, I promise you I'll do it differently. And it happened. And I went back to college. And again, I was never academically inclined. So I struggled immensely with illiteracy. And I couldn't read. I chose English as a major just because I thought it was going to be easy. I was like, well, I speak English. How difficult can it be? But it was challenging, and so I had to literally reinvent myself into a scholar, having no idea. Now, this is the key. I had no idea that process would become a system that I would use to not only recreate myself, but to teach other Black kids how to do the same thing. And it all traces back to that moment of failure. If I had never torn my patellar tendon, I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish anything those kids who are now at Ivy League institutions may not be there, but it all traces back to that one singular moment that I perceived as my downfall when it was really my destiny.
And can I ask one more thing real quick?
Sure.
So, after listening to you this time telling your story, tearing your knee, your patella, in your knee, that's a freak accident, right?
Yeah.
It looks on the surface level, for me, and this is just me, this is how I interpret it, it looks like a failure in that sense. But then after hearing more of your story, I'm like, do you feel like, because you said that at that moment when you were on that bed and you were saying, if I can just have one more chance, I promise that I'm going to commit myself. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do whatever I can. Do you feel like that you were listening to those voices and you believe those voices that you are a failure? You failed. So do you think that some of that moment wasn't just a patella, but an intrinsic thing that has been kind of preached to you since you were a kid, since you were in school? Do you think the failure at the root of it was you believing what these people had actually told you, instead of just that freak accident?
It's so crazy, Wade, that's powerful what you just said, because yes, and so y'all are actually the first ones I'm sharing this with. The title of my book is called Miseducated. And the theme is that, or the reality that's conveyed in that is, for a lot of us, trauma becomes our first teacher. Like when you think about miseducation, that doesn't begin at school. That begins with your circumstances and what your circumstances tell you about your identity. And so for me, when I looked at my circumstances, I believed it. When I listened to the people who said I would never be, I believed it. And so in that moment for me, yes, something had to snap and I had to believe something else about myself, but it came from a moment of desperation. And a lot of people unfortunately have to reach that place in life before they're really able to grapple onto whatever it is they're supposed to do and what they're calling and their purpose is.
I mean, that's an incredible story. It's inspirational. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm not an African American male, but I mean, I identify with that, and I think that's why I understood it. Like, I understood where you were coming from. I understood what was going on in your mind in that moment. And it doesn't matter, like you said, I mean, trauma is trauma, right? It doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter what that looks like, but there's more to it than just that. So thank you, number one, for sharing that with us. And to know the title of your book, let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
I don't know if I was supposed to share that, but I did.
One thing, too, because a lot of people on here may not have heard your whole story. And so we get to this place where you feel like, in that moment you were a failure, but then you realize, oh, this is ultimately leading me to my passion that's now going to drive me into my future.
Right.
And so, we kind of topped off at all right, here I had this decision to make, and I decided that I was going to go back to college. I was going to pursue, education, English, if you will, which is why he's so smart now. So that just goes to prove that
he writes real good.
He does.
He reads good.
He reads good. He writes good. But no, tell them a little bit more, because not only did you become an educator, which is incredible. Obviously, those are my absolute favorite people in the world. But you didn't just stop there. And so how have you used that moment to drive yourself in education to not just, maybe settle for a degree or settle for a specific job, but to continue to truly, truly try to change the world, which I think educators do.
Because you took a huge leap in what you're doing right now.
Exactly.
Like, you sacrificed everything to do what you're doing, and it's impact. Sorry, I'm super pumped up.
He loves you so much.
I love y'all too, man. I love y'all too. But listen, but let's go back a little bit and talk about what happened after that, because there's more failure. There's even more failure. Like it wasn't just failure and then the upward trajectory of success. No, it was failure and then more failure and then more failure. Because when I went through that process of reinvention, I had to teach myself how to read. I had to teach myself how to write. And all of a sudden, I'm going through this metamorphosis, and there was a renaissance that took place on the inside of me. And now all of a sudden, I discover this is what I'm supposed to do in life. Because as I was going through that intellectual transformation, and that fire started to ignite within me, I asked myself, I said, what if I would have experienced this all the way back when I was younger? What if somebody could have given me this type of experience right here? And I became frustrated because I was like, isn't that the job of a teacher? Like, literally, my job as a teacher is to be able to incite curiosity. It's to be able to impart wisdom. It's to be able to excite you about what it is that I'm trying to offer you so that you'll receive it. And so for me, I became frustrated, and I said, well, you know what? There's nothing I can do about what happened in my life, but there is something I can do about what happens in somebody else's. And that is when I discovered I'm supposed to be a teacher. But here's what happened. I declared my major, and I wanted to be a secondary. I declared my minor, actually, a secondary education. Went through the entire program, completed all the practicums, completed all the courses and everything. And I get to the end. Y'all are teachers. Y'all know what comes at the end, the licensure exams. The praxis, I get there. Now I'm about to graduate. It's time for me to get my license from the Virginia Department of Education. I take the praxis and I fail. I say, okay, you know what? Now school's over. Now I've graduated, but I don't have the license yet, so I can't teach. I can't do what I'm called to do. And so I go and I take it for a second time, and I fail. Finally, I work up the courage to say, no, I know I'm supposed to take this praxis, and I know I'm supposed to pass it. And I go back and I take it again. I make up in my mind, I'm going to conquer this thing. And I failed. Again, 4 times and I failed the praxis.
Those things aren't cheap.
No.
They're not cheap. 4 times I failed the praxis exam and have never passed it to this day. That exam, this is what's so powerful here. That exam told me that I was not qualified to be a teacher. But one of the things that I've realized in my life is that God doesn't call those who are qualified, but he qualifies those who he calls. And I knew that I was determined to be a teacher. And if the Virginia Department of Education wasn't going to give me a classroom, I decided I was going to make my own. And I did it. And so I quit. I had quit the debate team some time ago, and I actually started teaching debate to inner city youth in my community. And with those kids, I was teaching them debate. Every single one of them, they were labeled at risk. They had a cumulative GPA of a 1.2. I started with 5 kids, y'all. 5 in a dilapidated garage. 5 kids, and I was teaching them debate, and all of a sudden I get there one Saturday, and it's not 5, it's 10. And then the next Saturday, it's not 10, it's like 20, and eventually 50 inner city youth are voluntarily showing up for Saturday school. A flame has been ignited in them. And those kids in just 9 weeks went from a 1.2 to a 3.5 cumulative GPA. Every single one of them made honor roll for the first time in their lives. That is what affirmed what I was always meant to do. And I didn't need nobody's license to convince me of it. And so that happened. And then from there, I was recruited to move to Atlanta to teach down here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, it reminds us so much as educators. We talk a lot about it, but no matter who you are, obviously, we are told that we have this job to do. We have to educate kids based on these standards. But the true job that we have as educators, like you said, is to inspire kids to recognize that they are capable. They do have passions. Help them find their passions. And that's why we're so passionate, like you, Brandon, not just about what we teach, but how we teach it. And also, more importantly, what we're instilling, the values, the things that we're telling our students every single day, because just those things alone that were spoken to you that made you feel like the minute that basketball was over for you, your whole life was over, because those were the things that have been spoken to you by person after person after person. The things that we speak to our kids that are way completely outside of standards are honestly the things that's going to stick with them, like it did with you, and drive them in one direction or the other in their life. And so our job is so much more than just to deliver content. It truly is to inspire our kids, but to make them confident and believe that they can truly do whatever it is that they want to do. That is the power that we hold as educators. It's not the standards. Yes, we want to make our kids scholars and we want to teach them the content, but that's not our true power as educators. That part to me is, okay, that's my job. But my calling is to inspire kids, to inspire them to want to go after their dreams and believe that they can achieve it. That's what motivates me as an educator.
Yeah,
honestly, if I were looking at the standards to educate me, I would have been like, But that's what motivates me.
I mean, go ahead, Brandon.
What's crazy? So not too long ago, I was invited to give a commencement speech for a class of graduates who were graduating from high school, and they were going off to college. And I went there and I took the podium and I announced to them what my topic was, and it shocked the entire room because at first they didn't get it and they had no idea where I was going. I said, today's topic is, I hope you fail. And they're all looking around each other like, wait, what type of commencement speech is this? They're like, wait, what? But you know what? That's something that I say to my students from the beginning of the year. When people ask, what is it that's different about what you do? How do you cultivate these kids at such a rapid rate? And it is because when they come to me, the first thing I want them to do is fail. And the reason why is because most people don't know how to do it. Because when people fail, oftentimes they become crippled and paralyzed by their failure, and they don't know how to endure the process. And so that's what a lot of times separates the weak from the strong, is those who know how to look failure in the face and say, there's nothing you can do to me that you haven't already done. And that's what I've told myself. I've hit rock bottom. I mean, the lowest of the low, there's nothing failure. That's why I'm not afraid. That's why I'm able to jump out and do something that I've never done before. That's why I'm able to say, I want to start a pipeline for the world's most prestigious university. And people look at me and say, you're crazy and out of your mind for thinking that you could do such a thing. And I can look them back and say, you know what? You might be right. But guess what? If I fail, I've lost nothing.
Right.
I've lost nothing because I've been there before. If I hit rock bottom, I'm not afraid of that place. I've been there before. And for the people who haven't been there, They're afraid to come face to face with failure. And so we had to teach them how, because for my students, I would much rather them fail within my proximity than for them to fail out there on their own. Because I have the opportunity to help them and lift them back up and teach them how to stand by themselves.
Yeah, I think there is so much power. I mean, that's where you and I are so much alike anyways, and just how we think about things and how we educate kids and what we think is important and how we prioritize, what it is that we teach kids in our classroom. But, I talk to teachers about it all the time too, because it is what you just said is so important that no matter what grade level you teach, I don't care what the age of the students, I feel like one of the most important things that we have to do as educators is set our students up for just that, for failure. And I talk to educators a lot too, because I feel like for kids who, let's just be real, in our classroom, there are kids who fail a lot more than others, right? There are kids who just naturally, by nature, by who they are as a human being, maybe it's that they're more prone to go after things, or they're more courageous, or they really don't, they don't care what other people think about them. Whatever it may be, they're more apt to fail. But I think one of the things that we have to focus on as teachers is finding that perfect kid, finding that kid who's always trying to please, always trying to do everything right in our classroom, always trying to say that's the kid that needs failure. That's one of the kids that needs failure too, because if not, then they grow up thinking they put so much pressure on themselves to always please that when they do fail, everything crumbles for them. They don't know how to recover from that failure because they've never had experience, because everybody's like, oh, but that sweet baby, if they failed, they're just going to fall apart. Let them. Right. We all have to fall apart. We all have to face failures where we have all three of us and everybody on this live, we've all faced failures where we have literally been on our face. Like, how are we going to recover from this? How are we ever going to recover from this? And if they never feel that, how are they supposed to recover? And God forbid they become an adult and then that happens. And then they're an adult who doesn't know how to recover. And that's where we end up losing individuals and losing people with their passions and desires to want to continue, because they don't know the recovery aspect of failure.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's exactly what it is. Go ahead, Wade.
I mean, just real quick, it's one of those things to where, we all have failures, right? But a lot of us experience more obstacles in our life that these kids who come to us, they don't necessarily have. They're in different circumstances. They have different upbringings. They have more resources or whatever it is. And so it is a failure in my sense. But as we're talking and as I'm listening to both of you, I'm just sitting here like, you know what? I mean, you didn't really fail entirely. It was just an obstacle that you had to overcome, and you overcame it.
That's right.
You have a choice on how you overcome it. It's like, if you're in Atlanta, we have speed bumps and we have potholes, right? Speed bumps, you get over those a little bit differently than you do a pothole. You have different circumstances when you get into a pothole. The car you can get a flat tire. You got to fix it. You got to change it. If that doesn't work, what else are you going to do? That's life. Yeah. And our kids who come to us, sometimes they're used to just going over this. They're slowing down a little bit, fixing the problem so they don't break the car to go over the speed bump. But other kids, you've got to put that pothole in front of them, but help them with the tools to recover. And like you said, Brandon, it's easier to do that when they're with us than when they're out there on the road, on the highway, and they do hit a pothole and they don't know how to fix a car. Yeah. Right? And so understanding how that looks, it's failure, but it's more of obstacles on how do we overcome these things?
Yeah.
Circumstances are either going to bend you or break you. And we have to make sure that our kids are never broken. One of the things I tell my kids all the time, I look them in their face and I tell them, it's not about the event that you fail. It's about the direction that you fail. And if you fail, you must fail forward. You have to fail forward. You don't fail backwards. You don't make the same mistakes. You fail forward. You learn from your mistakes. You acquire a new set of knowledge and skills, and you use that to amplify everything that you do. So as long as you are failing forward, you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and so, the thing about it is that we're talking about this from an educator standpoint of what we do with our students, but the reality is so many of us as educators are afraid of the very same things that we're afraid to put our students through, and that is failure. That is failure. Yeah. And so, a lot of educators will say, well, I don't know how to fail. I don't know what to do. So how do you really, because you say that you tell your kids, your students, you hope that they fail, right? As an adult, though, do you still feel that that's true of yourself? Do you still feel that you hope that you continue to fail and continue to grow as you have in the past? And if so, how do you challenge yourself that way? How do you put yourselves in scenarios that you might fail so that you can actually grow? Because I think that's so hard as an adult, is a lot of adults get stuck in, I don't know how to grow. I don't know. And so they become complacent and they become comfortable because they truly don't know the next step for how you put yourself out there. So how as an adult have you continued this mentality, continued this mindset to make sure that you're still on this path of failure? And every time you fail, like Wade said, it might be a roadblock, you're going to overcome it, you're going to grow, and that's what's kind of led you to who you are today.
You know what's interesting? I was just sharing with somebody, I had a vision the other day about what I want to do next. And I shared it with somebody, and they said, that's really radical. And that confirmed to me that I was thinking the right way. And they asked me to say, you're not scared of doing that? And I said, no, I'm not. And that's for one reason. I made up my mind that I'm going to die empty. I made up my mind, I'm going to die empty. When we used to go out on the court, when we played basketball, and we played against a team that we weren't sure that we were going to beat, the last thing our coach would say to us is, leave it all on the court. That's how we should live our lives. Yep. Leave it all on the court. Leave it all on the field. It's not your, one of my professors in college said something so powerful to me. He said, it's not your job when it comes to teaching. It's not your job to fill their cup. It's your job to empty your own. And so for me, if I fail, where am I going to be that I'm not right now? You know what I'm saying? So for me, what I've made up in my mind is I'm going to empty myself out. And it requires that you get to a place where you're comfortable with doing that, and when you're simply not afraid. Because that's what it boils down to. We're all going to fail in some way, whether it's a misstep or whether it's a total blunder. But the fact of the matter is, what's going to be your mindset when you approach it? And if you are fearful, that's when you become paralyzed. But if you are fearless, that's when you become a victor.
Yeah. And that's good, Brandon.
Victory versus victim mentality. Love it, buddy.
That's good.
That's right.
it.
But, for me, when I think about, with Get Your Teach On and grow and Get Your Teach On and trying to serve as many educators as we can possibly serve, and how can we serve them in different ways, and how can we serve them in better ways, and let's try this, and let's, because we're constantly, literally, like you, we're constantly thinking of how we can best serve others, right? Because we're both athletes. We understand the whole, you leave it on the court, and if you didn't want to do that, your coach would make you, and so you really didn't have much choice in the matter. But for me, I'm afraid all the time. I'm afraid by nature to a degree. You can ask Wade, I'm constantly asking our team, but what if nobody comes to that? What if nobody shows up to that? Oh my gosh, what if nobody wants that? What if this doesn't help? What if this doesn't? Because, this is real talk. Not only do you have the burden of trying to serve others, but then when you're doing these things, you also have a tremendous financial burden that nobody knows about until you're actually in the business of it, and you are trying to put on events, and you are trying to put yourself out there, and you're trying to do things for other people. Listen, nobody in the world's like, oh baby, you're going to do a conference for teachers? Let me give you a venue for free. Let me give you this food and beverage minimum for free. Let me give you this. You mean donate swag? I can donate. As a matter of fact, it's very difficult to get anybody to do anything for educators. So then you not only have this burden of, okay, how can I best serve others, but now I'm putting my whole family's future on the line for this. I'm putting literally Maverick's future on the line for this. And so I think a lot of people forget all of the different aspects that go into anything really in life, right? We all have our very same scenarios where we're like, oh, can I afford that? Can I do this? I'm putting so much on the line. But I'm afraid all the time. But like you, when I'm most afraid, that's exactly when I know I need to do it. That's what drives me. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. One of my mentors said something so powerful to me. He said, whenever you want to do something and you're afraid, there's one solution. Do it afraid. Do it afraid until fear leaves. And it's just like, that's the difference. Of we're all going to be afraid of something, but it's those some of us decide to be afraid and to quit, or some of us decide to be afraid and persevere. But one of the things I tell my students, it's just like jumping into the pool. What's the worst way to get into a pool? It's to dip your toe in, and the next thing you know, it's too cold, so you jump out, and then you try to get your cap in there, get to your knee, and it ends up taking you 30 minutes to do something that you could have done in an instant if you simply weren't afraid. And what happens is when you plunge into that water, you'll find that your body temperature adjusts immediately. That's called adaptability. Most people don't get to that level. Most people don't even know the extent to which they can adapt because they're too afraid to jump off of the ledge.
Yep.
And so that's literally what separates some of us from others, is our willingness to do things afraid.
I had to tell Wade I had one more thing to say, because that's it literally, I'm sure that you get asked this question. I have people that come up to us or people that message me, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can, but it's people that say, I want to have a platform. I want to do these things in education. How did you get here? How did you write a book? How did you build this conference? And bottom line, and I'm going to start using it, and I'll quote you maybe. I'll quote you 1 out of 10 times.
She'll take everything from you like
thank you.
It's fine.
Thank you.
At least you get the one.
I'm good.
Come on.
I'm good. You'll be fine too.
It would be an honor to be quoted by Hope King.
It's just going to take me a little less time than my lengthy, because I tend to send paragraph responses, but I'm literally just going to start saying, do it afraid. Because that is literally the story of my life. Like the story of how we have done these things, how we did build this platform, how we did build it, how we did write a book. And I love too what you said, just kind of going back, that God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And that is what you have. But do you think he's going to hand it to you on a silver platter? Like, do you think that there's somebody's going to walk up and say, oh, here's a book for you, put your name on it and put it out there? That is not how this happens. It literally is doing it afraid, facing your fears and saying, I'm risking everything. And sometimes when you take the biggest risks, they end up in biggest failures. But also those failures lead you to your biggest victories. It's like a chain reaction, but you have to be willing to take the risk. You have to be willing to face the failure to find the victory. Victory and success doesn't just come because somebody got lucky. That is not how it happens. Very few people actually get lucky. Very few.
Country music artists get lucky.
Yeah.
Country music artists.
Wade
get
is
real
convinced that country music artists.
Nah, and I was hoping, my friends and I, we were hoping, like, I recently had an aspiration to be a one-hit wonder. Like, I feel like if I drop a song, like I could be like, what's the guy, the country hip hop guy,
the cowboy guy.
Like I feel like,
I
feel like if I drop a song, like there's a chance that it could go like viral and like that be it, and I check out after that and just live off of that for the rest of my life. I want to be that. I want to be that lucky.
Afraid.
I'm gonna do it afraid. I'm gonna do it afraid, Wade. But no, listen. Here's what's crazy. You know the hardest thing, Hope, that I've had to grapple with in education as I'm trying to push these kids. Like I'm trying to push them and push them and push them. What I realize, and here's the thing, Wade, some people don't want to be great. Some people just really don't want it. And that's hard for me because like when I'm pushing, I'm thinking everybody wants it. So I'm like, okay, I got the tools. Let me give you the tools. Let me show you how to use it. But the truth is, some people really don't want it. And what determines how bad you want it, I was with one of my mentors here recently, Dr. Cornell West, and we were having lunch. And he told me, he said, tell me everything that you want. Tell me all your dreams. Tell me all your aspirations. And so I'm going in, pouring it all out. And after all of that, he looked at me, he said, now tell me what price you're willing to pay. Some of us don't want to suffer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. For whatever it is that we want in life, whatever it is that you want, however high your aspirations, what's equivalent at that level is the measurement of your suffering. He told me, he said, you got to learn how to die.
Yep.
Because when you learn how to die, that's when you learn how to live. Most people don't like to be cut. Most people don't like pain. And so a lot of people, when they start to feel pain, they don't embrace it for what it is. They retreat. You know, and that's the difference between those who want to be great and those who are just okay with being mediocre.
Yeah, that is good. Okay, so what a powerful conversation. I mean, I feel like I'm taking a crazy amount away from you, Brandon.
Me too, Hope.
Write it down.
I love
down.
y'all.
Date it.
Hold on, can you say that again so I can record it?
No, that's it.
That's
That's all I want to get one time. I can only say that one time. But hold on, because this has been a deep conversation, but, you know, I think there is so much truth to all of this, and I think that, you know, if people are looking to grow themselves, to rewatch this and to recognize that we could all sit here and tell stories all day long, but our stories, you know, don't mean anything. You have your own story. And what Brandon said at the end is so powerful and true. You've got to figure out what it is that you want to do and what the price is that you want to pay to be able to get there. And all of things that we've talked about, sacrifice, how you have to be willing to sacrifice so many things. You have to do it afraid. You have to be willing to face failure. These are all pieces of the equation of success. Whatever measure of success you want that to be, it's all pieces of the equation. And you can't sacrifice one of the pieces. Guess what? One doesn't come without the other, right? So if one's left out, the whole equation is, I don't know what a math word would be, but anyways, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I think one thing also to take from this too is that this doesn't mean that you shift, because we've been talking about this all week too, this doesn't mean that you shift your priorities unless your priorities are already out of whack.
Right.
Brandon's not saying that you sacrifice your time with your son or your daughter or your wife or your spouse. He's saying to if you want to be great, you better try to be great at every little thing that you do. And you have a cup that's here, just like he's saying, and it's your job to give that cup to someone else in whatever aspect it is, but you still hold true to your priorities. So Brandon is very much, he's driven. He's a go-getter, but he has his priorities in check too. So making sure that you hold those true to who you are, and you're not giving too much to something that you should not be giving it to. I think it's very valuable information too.
And also, you know, be careful too what you say about being your very best at everything. I mean, giving your
that's impossible. I mean,
setting realistic expectations and goals for yourself, but whatever it is you choose to zone in on, that's what you're really feeding all of that energy into. And so it's such a valid point, though, to make sure that you do have your priorities in line. You are taking time to take care of yourself. But what we're saying, you know, a lot of people waste time.
Exactly.
There's so much time wasted because they're sitting there thinking about what they could do rather than just doing it. So stop wasting all of the time in between, and whatever it is you want to put your mind to, make a choice to go and do that and spend your time wisely versus spending your time on all these mediocre tasks that's getting you nowhere because they keep you comfortable. And I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Being very intentional about what you're pouring your time into. Because we all only have a certain amount of hours in the day. So either I'm going to pour my time into tasks that I'm like, okay, I've got this. I can do it with my eyes closed. I'm still having to spend time on that, even if it's easy. I choose to spend my time on the things that are hard, on the things that I'm afraid of, on the things that I don't want to do. And that's what leads me to reaching my ultimate goals.
Yeah. And it's like one of the things that I always say, you know, that I learned back when I started that first organization I did in college, is that what we're talking about here is having the spirit of a trailblazer. And trailblazers don't wait for opportunities. We create them. We create opportunities. That's what we do. You know, one of the things I tell my kids all the time, because what you're describing right now, Hope, is having the grace to finish. And a lot of people don't have that. You know, I tell my kids that there are three different types of people, and imagine them in a relay race where they're in a race and they're starting in different positions. There are three types of people, whether students, people in general, regardless. There are those who need inspiration. There are those who need information, or there are those who simply need an opportunity. One of the things that I tell people, my kids, and when I go give motivational or when I go give speeches, I'm not a motivational speaker. Because for me, if you need motivation, that means you haven't even begun the race. That means you're still trying to make up in your mind that you're going to run this race.
Right.
You know, for me, the people I'm going after are not the people who are still contemplating whether or not they're going to start. It's the people who either need the right tools or the people who simply need a path. And that's who we should aspire to be. Those who need equipment and those who need opportunities, because those are the people who tend to finish.
Well, such a great chat. Before we wrap this up, so you mentioned that you think you could be a one-hit wonder with your music, you know? And so Brandon, actually, because he is so great with words and piecing them together, he writes songs for his class to remember certain people and things and events. And so, Brandon, we just need a little taste of what we're going to see when your single drops.
All right, cool. All right. So, I'm gonna give y'all just a little taste, just a couple of verses. I'm not gonna do the whole song, you know, but I'm just gonna give you a couple of verses. So, I don't do this no more, you know. But back when I used to teach younger kids, I used to write songs and stuff like that for them to, you know, grasp what I was teaching. And so when I was teaching about Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato, you know, I had this song. It was called the Greek philosophy song. So here's the verse about Socrates. All right. Yeah. Socrates started from the bottom, came to the top. Only way we know about him is from the students he taught. He questioned everything, call it interrogating, but the government officials thought it was irritating. What is wisdom, justice, life, and beauty? What is love, compassion, morality, and duty? He knew by questioning you can discover the truth, so they sentenced him to death for corrupting the youth.
Wait.
That was lit, right?
First of all, hold on. I told Brandon came to me with this song one time, and he tried to start talking to me about it. I said, "Don't say Socrates to me ever again."
Brandon dressed up as Socrates one day.
He did.
I did.
He looked like Zeus.
Okay, wait. One more. Didn't you have a
like a
government
black
song?
Jesus.
Like a government? Didn't you have a government song?
Yeah, I did have a government song. I don't know if I remember the.
It was so good.
Oh yeah. So I did it to the Soldier Boy song. You know that you.
Yeah.
So it was like first is legislative branch, then is the judicial branch, last is the executive, which is the U.S. president, U.S. government, U.S. government, U.S. government, U. versus legislative branch. Watch me lean and watch me rock. They're the branch of government in charge of making all the laws. Congress has 500 members. I don't remember. I don't remember the words. That was a long time ago, yo.
Oh my god!
Wow, memories.
Only you can bring out my dance moves.
Yes.
That was so good. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us tonight. I feel so
Man, I love
honored.
y'all.
One last
man.
thing, though. I
Oh,
mean, we
gosh.
didn't even tell everybody that Brandon's presenting
yes.
at Get Your Teach On.
Yes,
National.
I completely forgot. It just escaped my brain because I never thought I'd see the day. But battery's down as usual. But Brandon is going to be one of our presenters at the national conference. We are so excited to have him.
Yeah.
He is going to bring all of those songs to you on our stage, just to let you know it's coming. So if you don't come for any other reason than for that, there you go. There you have it. The Brandon Fleming, everybody. But seriously, Brandon, I know we joke a lot, but you're amazing. We are so proud of you.
Yeah.
We cannot wait for your book to come out. We cannot wait to have you at our conference. We know that people are going to benefit from you and your knowledge and wisdom so much. So you might want to screen record all of this and just keep it for, a later date, even though I'll never admit to any of it.
I will.
Okay?
You need to do that.
I will. I will. Well, listen, thank y'all so much. Thank you, not only for our relationship, which has been so incredibly valuable to me. I cherish all the laughs. But thank you for being revolutionaries. Thank you for showing the world what excellence looks like. It's up to us to start the change, to be the change we want to see, and start the revolution that is necessary for us to really go in the direction we need to go for education. And y'all have done that by how you galvanize hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people around the world. So thank you for your contributions to the field. We need more people like you, and I'm excited to be a part of the movement.
Well, you're an inspiration, Brandon.
Yes.
You really are.
Thank
so
you for that,
thank
too.
you.
I'm going to record that as well. So, all right, buddy. Well, we love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Love you too. Talk to you soon.
All right, you guys. Well, another great episode because we have
amazing
people that are just, they teach us so much. So
inspire us, teach us all of
have
it.
a beautiful weekend, and we will see you back on Monday for the Get Your Teach On special. Lots of announcements. You don't want to miss it. And on Wednesday with Cassie Stevens, we're going to be redefining our why. So we will see you all then. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.